Okay, we're good. We are live, back in action.
All right.
Yes. Yes. Back with what's been a while for the live from third floor comics. Had some things come up. I had to take my mom's cat to get it fixed. And Tim and Elizabeth had some personal things they had to attend to. We still don't have Elizabeth today, but she'll be back. And but it's just Tim and I today. Hate to say that to seem so sad that it's just Tim and I. We're not that bad together, I don't think.
Just interject here a second, Melvin. You're about half off the screen.
Okay, well that's because I'm leaning forward to the microphone. So let me do this. Let me slide me over there. Is that better?
There you are, front and center.
Yeah, it's like to see my face. Oh, and if for some reason we disconnect, it's because the internet. So it happens sometimes, but I think we'll be okay. We'll be okay. So
So,
anyway, we have a lot going on today. We have the Hawkeye Disney Plus trailer to talk about. We got Marvel and Disney going to war with their lawsuits for people wanting their, what would you say, Tim, alleged product back?
their rights to the characters that their family may or may not have developed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that. And let me see what else we got here. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Oh, there is a Penguin Batman spinoff in the works, and a Shiva show coming out. And we got some things about Dark Side of the Ring I was telling you about earlier. I feel a little weird because normally I'm sitting like right in front of you, looking at you. So you're to my right today. So I'm gonna have to lean over that way and look at you and say hi. But yeah, we got the a little bit of Dark Side of the Ring to talk about. Penguin spinoff, Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, a Shira series.
Now, the She-Ra, is it live action?
You know what? I pulled this up a couple weeks ago. I have to pull it up here just a second
I think
to
I'd
see.
be heads up on all this stuff, and I'm totally not.
I'm not either. It's been a while. So but yeah, speaking
Speaking
of
of,
if she was live action or not, if were to be live action, who would you have play She-Ra?
tough one. That's tough.
Actually,
Actually,
yeah, it is a She-Ra live action series in development at Amazon.
oh, really?
Yeah, so
Yes.
I'll go ahead and read this for you while you think about who you would have play a live action She-Ra. I'm not sure if I would want her to be young, if I would want her to be, 30s, I'm not sure. Let me
Age
pull this.
She-Ra. I mean, in the cartoon, she was kind of like an ambiguous. I mean, she'd go either way. She'd be 40 or she'd be 20, 25 there.
She does look rather momish in that picture, doesn't she? Yeah, she looks like somebody's mom in that picture. But
I mean, that picture, we could go with, what's her name? It was on House of Cards. Played Wonder Woman's mom.
Linda Carter,
Used to be married to Kevin Bacon. What was her name?
oh, I can't think of what her name is. I honestly don't. I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of what it is. I said Linda Carter.
She's in. She played um, the wife of. Um,
Kevin Spacey. Yeah.
I, I mean, my mind is not. I cannot think of names lately at all. So if I space out and I get like dumbfounded over a name, I'm not stupid. I just can't remember names right now.
Well, let me read this real quick about there's a She-Ra, a live action series in early development at Amazon. Variety has learned, apparently exclusively, Variety learned. As the project is in the very early stages, no writer is currently attached. DreamWorks Animation will serve as an executive producer after recently producing the Netflix animated series She-Ra and the Princess of Power. However, the live action version will be a new standalone story and will not be connected to the animated show. So hopefully it will be better than Wonder Woman 1984.
Not possibly be any worse than Wonder Woman 1984.
Did you see that, by the way?
All that Christmas Day, I was so excited. I mean, I was pumped up to see that movie, and I don't know why, because I didn't like Wonder Woman 1 all that much, but Wonder Woman 84, for whatever reason, I think where they're tying it back to 84 throwback, I was so excited to see it, and never been so disappointed with a movie in my life.
Well, I wasn't sold on the first one. I had to go back and rewatch it and actually like it. I actually like it better than the Justice League and maybe Batman versus Superman. But the second one, the Wonder Woman 1984, that was pretty bad, pretty bad.
It,
But I don't know who I would have play She-Ra though. I mean, it just a lot of times they've been using like overseas actresses. There was the red haired girl. Was she from Game of Thrones that played Dark Phoenix?
Sansa. I don't know what her name is. Sansa. Played Sansa Stark.
Is she from
She,
Game of Thrones? Okay.
yeah.
And of course, Gal Gadot, or however you say her name, she is from
It,
Israel.
just
Yeah. So
a good casting call for that. I can't imagine her blonde though.
yeah, I don't know. Now, if it were in the '90s, I would have to
Drew
say
Barry.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Drew Barry.
No, no, no. Drew Barrymore. Not there's nothing about Drew Barrymore, for me anyway, that says I'm badass. I can kick ass. I mean, Charlie's Angels. I couldn't do it just because of that.
I like
It's
Charlie Sheen.
just no. I mean, she seems very wholesome and you know comedic. I just don't know. But
What's
she would know.
what's that blonde name, the comedian? She had her own show for a while. Rank. Oh,
Was
was
she?
so
Did she have? Did she have the show that was with Samantha Bee's husband, Jason? Oh,
no. This name after her is all like a bunch of short comedy skits.
I can't think of who it was. You say she was from SNL?
Mm-mm. What?
She was
She
from
was some.
SNL? No. Hmm.
Her humor is not clean enough to be on.
Amy Schumer, no, no, it's bad.
Great Shira.
Hold on a second. There's a comment there. Let me see what it is. Patrick King says Drew Barrymore needs to stay with Adam Sandler movies. Hey, Blended was good. It's very wholesome. It's very family, and The Wedding Singer it's a classic to me. Hey,
States.
yes,
Yes.
51st Dates were good. Yeah, Drew Barrymore his action is just not good. Not good at all. It'd be like putting Jennifer Aniston as a superhero. It's not good.
She too old to pull off a role, superhero role.
I think she's too muscular. I think she's too
You must be Shira.
as crazy as that sounds. No, Jennifer Garner, she's like what's the lady that plays the Resident Evil movies?
Milana Jelonovich or
Something like
something.
that. Vila chick, but yeah, those she's too badass to play She-Ra. As silly as that sounds. Kate Beckinsale. She's a little less.
She's not, I know. I don't know what her name is, but the woman that played Scarlett Johansson's sister in Black Widow.
Yes, she
She'd
could
be.
play She-Ra. She could definitely play She-Ra. But I can't think of what her name is. She actually in that movie, to me, she actually was the movie. I think she stole it from Scarlett Johansson.
Maybe that's why Scarlett Johansson got pissed off about Paige.
It's possible that it's possible that happened.
Okay, total side note here, but top 5 best female action stars.
Hmm. I would have to start. I don't know if this is any particular order. Um, hmm. I like Kate Beckinsale. I hmm.
Tough one, isn't it?
I like Kate
Who?
Beckinsale. I like ooh, wow.
It's tough, isn't it? There's not a lot of female leads for action movies that have hit big. We all love to watch them, but
Well,
what?
I guess you would have to put I mean, if you would consider action, I guess Scarlett Johansson for Black Widow. Uh, oh, wow.
I mean, there's
Huh.
good spy movies out there, like The Girl with the Dragon Tat- Tattoo. Not really a thriller movie, not an action star, but she's got. I don't know what her name is, but the girl, one that played the lead character in that, she definitely pulled it off as an action star.
What movie was it?
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's more of a thriller than it is action.
Ah, got yeah, I know I know what you're talking about.
Sequences off.
Patrick King says, Kate Upton as She-Ra. I don't know if she'd be tall enough, though,
They could change all that.
and she might be
Much.
muscular and muscular in places that yeah, I don't know, but Kate Upton, I guess could be She-Ra. Wow, top 5 female action stars. The difficulty with answering that question is that other than Kate Beckinsale doing, Underworld and Mila Jovovich, whatever her last name is, doing 30 Resident Evil movies, I've seen, like, 2 of them. Other than and Scarlett Johansson doing Black Widow, you really don't see a lot of women doing sequel after sequel. You know what? Um, what's her name from Blade? Not Blade, but, The Matrix.
Oh, her name's right to my tongue. I know you're talking about. Shoot, I was thinking about Angelina Jolie though. She
You
did
know
some
what?
great action films back in her day.
She now that you mention that, because I wasn't thinking of her because I was thinking of, like franchises. What was it?
It's in.
Kate Moss is isn't she a model?
I'm brain dead today.
No, Angelina Jolie would probably yeah, you would probably be the number 1. I would say Mila and, Kate Beckinsale right after that. And then, hmm,
Just don't
yeah,
remember.
I don't know. That's tough. We'll have to let me see if somebody's sending me something here that might be able to answer that. Hmm, I don't know. Well, I'll have to get back to you on that one. That's
What to do that? We have to do that for our next show. I have to list out for our next
well,
show.
yeah, we'll have to remember that. You say you say top 10 female?
That might be all the female action stars.
Well, I mean, again, it's just tough because when you okay, so when you think of males, you think of franchises, like Sylvester and Rambo and Arnold and Terminator and
Hard.
yeah, Bruce Willis and Die Hard, yeah. So you think about that, and then females, there are movies that females by themselves it's just usually like a one and done deal.
Carry on. Maybe it's Carrie Ann Moss. I'm still struggling on Matrix.
I was worried. I think her name is Moss. It's something Moss. But I thought you were gonna say Carrie Underwood for a second. I was getting a little worried about you because Carrie Underwood's a great action star. But, we'll have to remember that and write that down, and then in 2 weeks, we'll get our own list of top 5 female action stars.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, if anybody has any suggestions, by the way, of, top 5 female action stars, by all means,
Throw
say
'em out
something.
there.
Patrick King says, Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah,
Fast and Furious franchise. Plus, wasn't she in Avatar? Played the gunship
I think
operator.
so. I think she did.
Yeah.
I'm
She
trying
was
to think there was
bad.
somebody that just would you count what was the lady from Rocky 4 and Flavor of Love? Bridget Nielsen?
She didn't have a whole. She had a couple action films. I don't think she had a whole lot of action films. I mean,
Hmm.
what would be her big action film?
I know she did something with, what was the one she did with Sylvester Stallone? Was she, like, action in that?
I remember the movie you talk about. I don't remember the name of the Cobra. Was she in Cobra or something?
I think that's what it was, Cobra, yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I'm gonna think for the next couple weeks about top 5 female action stars. That's got me just
It's a brave new world, Melvin. We can have
yeah.
Jeanette Wayne. You know, what? This might blow your mind. What if instead of we have like a patriarchal society now? What if we had a matriarchal society? Who would our big action stars have been back in the 50s and 60s?
Hmm.
I mean, who would have been the female John Wayne?
Uh,
I mean, would Joan Crawford been a female John Wayne?
I would say if back in the 50s and the 60s, if females were doing action movies, whether they were the the lead or not, because a lot of times females are in action movies and they're not the lead, but you still recognize them as being, part of being a big part of the movie. So I would say, since you brought up Drew Barrymore, I'm gonna bring up somebody that in my mind would be not just an equal, but bigger than her in action movies. I would say Lucille Ball.
I was going to say that. I mean, she had the chops, she had the attitude, she had the studio pool. I mean, her and Desi Arnaz owned their own studio.
Mhm,
So just being a comedic actor, she had the pull to do a lot as a woman.
mhm.
So if the situation were changed a little bit, and it's more of a female geared society back in the day like that, I could see her being a huge kind of star like that.
Yeah, and of course, she's not gonna have, be, like, muscular and things like that, but I could see her, like, being like the intelligent action star. I guess you would say, but
Yeah,
I think Lucille Ball would, be a big star. Sure.
Seal Bond.
Lucille Bond. Yeah, she could have been Lucille Bond, yeah. I would say, from the 50s and 60s, who else? Hmm, no Mary Tyler Moore.
Raquel Welch, I think, would have been an action star.
I'm not familiar with her. What was she on?
Well, she was in a couple of really bad like B films, but she was just had that look.
Hmm,
She's in some like drive-in kind of sci-fi, tropey kind of films.
I don't see, I don't even know because in the
A lot of
50 mm,
here.
Pam Grier's a good one. Pam Grier more so than, as far
It's
as, like, action. I can see Pam Grier, carrying a big gun and shooting rounds out and killing people. Well, I mean, she was badass in Jackie Brown. So I could see Pam Grier. No, that's something to think about too from the we'll get with Elizabeth and see what she thinks about that.
what else we got today before since send us off in this really weird tangent here.
The, let me pull this up here, hold on. And we'll use Hawkeye as a segue into the Marvel lawsuit. So the Hawkeye trailer comes out, what, about 2 weeks ago? Yeah. What did you think?
It's fantastic. Looks kind of like the a buddy cop film, but as a Marvel series show. I think this is what a lot of people were looking for when Marvel started talking about doing TV series type shows. I think this is what a lot of people were looking for. I think WandaVision was a little too out left field for a lot of people. I think for a few people said they really didn't care for Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I don't know why. I love that. And it had a very buddy cop kind of feel to it too.
Mhm.
I think a lot. I've talked to several people that said that they think all the Marvel, in their feeling, the Marvel shows have kind of missed it a bit, but they're super excited for this one. So
Well, the WandaVision, I mean, I'm trying to share this to my page. The WandaVision, I think you're absolutely right. I think it was there are many Marvel fans, I would imagine, that didn't like the thinking process that went along with watching WandaVision.
I think you had to stop. You had to disengage yourself from what the Marvel way on the MCU films is. You had to disengage yourself from that and kind of look at it from a different point and think on the show more than what most of Marvel stuff is. I mean, most Marvel stuff you can watch it and take it for eye candy. It is.
Mhm.
There's not a whole lot of undertones to it, which I think WandaVision kind of set the tone for all the Marvel series. The TV shows have been a lot more cognitive, I think, than what the movies have been. You've got to sit down. You've got to watch them. There's a lot of undertones in them, and the more you watch them, the more you see. I think WandaVision was just too far out left field for everyone to really jump onto right when it came out.
Yeah, I think too with WandaVision, WandaVision was simply setting up the Scarlet Witch character that we didn't see in any of the Avengers movies.
Gave it a lot of
And I'm sure there was a lot of people that, that don't follow comic books, didn't grow up on them, but like the movies, probably wasn't even really aware that Wanda was in fact the Scarlet Witch. And when they watched it, they probably had no idea where it was going. They tuned out and kind of, this is it's just too much thinking. Where, um, like you said, the buddy cop thing with kind of Falcon and Winter Soldier and like you said, we probably see this with Hawkeye. I'm excited about it.
I know as far as comic book sales, WandaVision drove up the West Coast Avengers books real fast. Falcon book, it drove those books up real fast. Loki to the same degree, and Hawkeye's been on fire. I mean, our sale on Friday night, I couldn't keep anything. If it had Hawkeye on it, it sold immediately.
Mhm.
It, I'm not sure what the key. Well, some of the keys are going to come from Hawkeye, and some are going to come from the Daredevil run as well. They introduced a character named Echo, and it's going to drive both those books to the moon. I think it's going to drive all the Hawkeye titles up, and it's going to drive those Daredevil titles up as well.
Well, I think this series is good for Hawkeye because Hawkeye really in the movies was kind of that he was kind of like the Robin to
He's
to
like
to a lot of them.
he's kind of like that sidekick. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and then plus when you leave him out of Civil War and then you bringing back for not yeah, you bring it back for was he Infinity War?
Yes, slightly. I think the character's been really underserved. His first movie that you see him in, he spends most of the movie, I think, as under the control of Loki. He's not really, you see him for a little while, but most of the film he's under someone else's control. He's not the good guy that he really is. He's a villain almost. Then you don't see him in Civil War. But I
It
don't think
was Infinity War is what it was. I made that mistake, sorry.
they bring him back as Ronin in in later films. So you don't
Mhm.
see a whole lot of Hawkeye. He's there, but you don't get his backstory all
I
much.
wish they would've, used they brought it back as Ronin for, like, 2 minutes, and I really wish that they would have played that out a little bit longer in the movie to give the character you'd be more hyped if you didn't read the comic books to see the Hawkeye series had in my mind, had they taken Ronin and maybe gave him, I don't know, 15 minutes instead of 5.
Because the Ronin character is is a great character too. He's got that, that assassin, that badass assassin or vigilante kind of feel going on. No real superpowers, just a lot of attitude and some high tech gadgetry to push him through it.
He's kind of like, with the poor man's Batman.
Which one? Moon Knight? No. Poor man's Batman. Oh, you think Hawkeye's like the poor man's Batman?
Right, 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 right.
I guess so. Yeah. See
Well,
that.
he doesn't have the billions and he doesn't have the smooth rides and the well, he does have a wife, so I guess he does have the lady, but he's a poor man's Batman.
I see that.
What a cool one.
Yeah, I'm on. Hmm? 4 hours set.
Let me see here. I'm gonna see when that comes out. Hold on. It's very devastating too that he's wearing the Bengals jersey.
Hell am I still? No, it's not disappointing. It did break my heart too much to see Steelers lose this weekend to the Bengals. Maybe a little bit. I mean, it could have been worse. They could have lost to the Browns.
Hawkeye comes out around Christmas, by the way. Says Jeremy Renner passes down the bow to Haley Steinfeld for Christmas.
Nice.
It's kind of got that Blade Trinity. Uh, oh, what's Justin Timberlake's wife's name?
Jessica Biel.
Yeah, that Blade Trinity, Jessica Biel type look to it. It would have been cool if they got her, but I'm sure this girl can kick some butt too. No, the girl in Hawkeye. Patrick King says he loves how they are setting up Young Avengers on every series.
Yeah, they definitely are. And that book's going. That's another book that's going to the moon. It's Young Avengers 1.
So Marvel is having some issues. I remember you sent this to me a couple weeks ago, and I read it and checked it out. But Marvel is having some issues, I guess, with the original writers, creators, I guess, of some of the characters.
Yeah, from what I understand, these characters that these creators that created these characters, they did so when they worked for Marvel. They helped create the Spider-Man. They helped create Captain America, Black Widow, Iron Man, the Hulk. The characters they created these characters in Marvel. When they worked for Marvel. This is kind of in a time before you really had a big movie. MCU was never even a thought. They never dreamed these characters would be something more than what something in a weekly magazine or a monthly magazine. So now and I don't know how copyright stuff works at all, but at a certain point, person's creations can be, I guess, reassumed by either the person or the person's estate or family. And that time length is starting to come up now, and the families are saying, okay, hey, our father or whatever, or our person that we're control their estate, their characters coming back up into market again, and we want those characters now. My dad created this character, and I want this character, kind of thing. And of course, Marvel's stance is, those characters were created for us by these people. You know, they were employed by to create characters as part of their employment, so those characters remain in our ownership. Which it's a sticky situation. Like when Winter Soldier was out, in fact, when Winter Soldier was out, the guy that created Winter Soldier, Ed Brubaker, he had a cameo in that series. He was quoted as saying he made more playing that cameo than he did for the creation of that character. So, as someone that's created a character like this, if you've created, or your family's created Spider-Man, and you look up on the screen and you see Sony and Marvel pulling in absolutely billions of dollars in merchandising and film and everything else on it, and your father, whatever, died desolate, or what the word is, died poor. It's not right. On a moral level, it's not right. But on a legal level, it probably is absolutely legal.
Well, it's kind of the same thing sound like to me. What was the movie that had come out a couple years ago? I believe it was on Netflix, and it was about the creators of Batman.
Oh, there's about Bill Finger.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it's on Netflix or Amazon, about Gil Kane's roommate, was named Bill Finger. Bill Finger pretty much created all the characters along with Gil Kane, and Gil Kane took all the credit for it.
He didn't, if I remember correctly, he didn't get credit for Batman until the Christian Bale Batmans came out, right?
Still, he didn't get any kind of financial credit for it at all. They
Yeah,
probably just,
he just got his name on the credits at the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
same thing with Superman, though. The creators of Superman, the families of the creators of Superman sued DC they tried for several years to sue DC because they said, our father created this, and it should be under our ownership. And DC was basically like, go pound sand. Turns out in this Marvel suit, the same lawyers are involved. The lawyers that represent the family of the Superman's creators are the ones that represent the families of the Marvel creators.
Yeah. I got that pulled up. So here, let me take a look at this.
You think what Marvel, well, on a moral side, you think what Marvel would be would say, okay, yes, your family created this, let's settle for this. Let's give you one half of the percentage point of all the royalties and movie profits.
I guess it's the same thing. I guess it'd be kind of the equivalent of if let's just say if something happened to you and you passed away, and I came in and I bought your business, and underneath one of the floorboards there was a big vault of $1 million or something, and and I and your family found out about it after the fact, didn't know it, and I got it, and I was like, well, it's too late now. He's gone, and he sold it to me. Tim, he may have $1 million under one of these floorboards. I don't know, but I guess it's kind of the same thing. I got this thing here. Let me read this real quick here. It says, moving to defend its Marvel superhero franchise, the Walt Disney Company on Friday filed a flurry of lawsuits seeking to invalidate copyright termination notices served by artists and illustrators involved with marquee characters like Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Thor. Uh, Daniel M. Procelli, if I'm saying that correctly, a high-powered Los Angeles litigator, filed the complaints on Disney's behalf in federal courts in New York and California. The dispute started in the spring when a prominent intellectual property lawyer, Mark Tilberoff, served Marvel Entertainment, which Disney owns, with notices of copyright termination on behalf of 5 clients. They include Lawrence D. Lieber, 89, a comics writer and artist known for his 1960s era contributions to bedrock Marvel characters. Mr. Lieber's older brother, Stan Lee, was chief writer and editor of Marvel Comics. Mr. Lee died in 2018. I didn't know that. I knew he died, but I didn't know how the connection there. Mr. Toberoff's other clients are the estates of the comics illustrators, Steve Ditko and Don Heck, and heirs of the writers Don Rico and Gene Colan. They are
Yeah.
seeking to reclaim rights related to the Marvel characters they had a hand in creating, including Doctor Strange, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Captain Marvel, Falcon, Blade, and the Wizard. I don't even know who the Wizard is. You have to explain that to me in a second. Several of which have become star revenue generators for Disney, appearing in films and television shows, along with a plethora of merchandise. So it sounds to me that these people that are still alive and then some that have passed, it sounds like their family is saying, "Hey, they've made $1 billion off of this, and we got jack squat. What's going on?"
It'd be like if your employer, while you're at work, you say, "Hey, Melvin, can you come up with an ad campaign to boost the sales of our washing machines?" When you do that, you come up with a character or a whole ad campaign, which actually flourishes and does fantastic. And it goes on actually beyond your life. It turns into this it turns the company around, makes the company a multi-gazillion dollar company. You got paid for it under the employment of your employer. You came up with Joe Schmo, the mattress guy. He built he built your sales up.
Right.
You know, fast forward past your death, and Joe Schmo still selling all the mattresses, and the company's still raking all the profits from you. But you kind of all you got was your $15 an hour to do to make that character, and the company's making billions off of it now. And kind of these creators coming back, the creators famous coming back saying, "Hey, my dad created Joe Schmo. I want my cut."
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, like back in those days, especially like in Superman was created what in the 30s, something like that. In the 30s and the 40s and the especially in the 30s and the 40s, no, I don't think anybody really had an idea as to what the comic book what the comic book world would become. And so I imagine a lot of times these people that had provided these characters and things like that, they probably never thought about copyrights and
Happy to have a job. Hey, I'm doing something. This is fun.
Mhm.
Job doing it,
Yeah,
and if they can sell a few books along the way, great. And they never considered it to be a billion-dollar industry.
yeah. And a lot of times too, you get these guys that are lawyer-like in these companies, and they could, you could come to me and say, "Hey, that's a pretty cool drawing, Melvin. Hey, how about I give you $100 and can I have that?" And once I take that $100,
There's
it's over. Now, a judge, you have to be really lucky to find a judge that might say, "Hey, you took advantage of this person. This person, had no idea." And then you might come across a judge that says, "Well, you know what? I'm sorry, he did take advantage of you, but there's nothing we can do." So those things kinda is
just
just a toss up of I guess who you get when you're going to court.
my gut feeling with this instance here, I think either the families will settle out of court for an undisclosed amount, or Marvel will bury them. I really do. I think Marvel and Disney's lawyers are just. I think they're insane. I think they're just insanely powerful, and I think they'll just either hold them up in litigation to where it's not worth keeping it going, or they'll send them some sort of pittance of a settlement.
Yeah, because that's what a lot of times what happens is well, if we keep them on hold, they won't be able to afford the court fees and the lawyer fees and things like that to continue going. We can, but they can. Eventually, you gotta drop your case, and then take a paycheck.
Disney was in a situation a few years ago where the copyright ownership of Mickey Mouse is going to expire. I guess the copyright's good for 50 years after the creator's death. 50 years after Walt Disney's death, Mickey Mouse was getting ready to go into public domain,
Mm.
and they basically lobbied Congress and had the copyright laws changed to maintain that they can control the mouse forever. So you deal with a company that can basically go in and have federal law changed in favor of them. So these little guys can sue them, sue anybody you want. They can sue the big guy, but the big guy's gonna crush them. Morally, I think Marvel should say, hey, yeah, our empire is built on the creativity of these estate holders. But legally we don't have to pay you shit because they were under our they created these storylines for us. But I think
Wow, they were working for us.
you know we paid him to write stories. These are the stories he wrote. This is what we chose to do with him. He got his paycheck. He cashed it. You know, sorry.
Hmm.
But I think moral level, I think they should probably kick back a little bit. But I don't.
Absolutely. I mean, you've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions. You should be able to cut them a small check. I mean, they paid Robert Downey Jr. in the end. He got almost what, $500 million.
But they're going to fight Scarlett Johansson. They're going to fight these people to the death.
They might send someone dressed up as Pluto to the door when they open it, just whack him with like a bat or something. It's possible.
But now the interesting part about it is it creates kind of a precedent. Artists now. That's kind of what started off Image Comics, because those guys that kicked off started Image Comics, Jim Lee, McFarlane, um, Liefeld, to name the three big ones. Eric Larson, they broke off because they want to control of the characters that they're creating. And it's done well for him. I mean, McFarlane's created Spawn, it's actually the longest running independent book ever. It's made him a multi-billionaire. Liefeld became a multi-millionaire based on his characters from Youngblood. So that's why basically these characters, these artists saw that happen to the generation before them. They didn't want to be the Jack Kirby's and the Steve Ditkos that created a great character for someone else. They broke off to create their own characters. And lawsuits like this bring that forward. I mean, going forward, you're going to see with this, you're going to see artists maintaining control of their creations more and more. Which,
Hmm. Well, I remember when all the image stuff come out, and I had friends that because of Jim Lee, they were all into Spawn and Young Blood and Pit, and there was another one that was big too, and they were just all into it, and of course, Spawn went on to sell a lot of comics and action figures, and I actually need to find the movie on DVD. I think it's one of the few comic book movies I don't have is Spawn. I thought John Leguizamo was awesome in it.
I haven't seen it for a long time. It wasn't a great film, but it wasn't a bad film.
Mhm. Well, if you didn't know that was John Leguizamo, you would never guess it. But I thought he did a great job. But Mhm.
Well, he played Violator, didn't he?
Yeah, he played Violator. Yeah. Oh, John Leguizamo. You would think that at that point in his career he would have just kept going up and up and up and up, but he really kind of just
Flatlined.
yeah. Well, he did Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
That may be what killed him.
Well, when you have Wesley Snipes in drag, I mean it.
I think I've seen that once, maybe.
Let me go on to there's a spinoff in the works for, that is Colin Farrell, by the way, as the Penguin in the upcoming,
That's Colin Farrell.
yes, that is Colin Farrell
Yeah.
as the Penguin,
Oh,
yeah. There is a, Batman spinoff in the works, in early development at HBO Max. HBO Max is developing a series about the Penguin that will be a spinoff of the the Batman feature. Variety has learned from sources. Colin Farrell is set to play the notorious supervillain in The Batman. According to sources, Farrell has been approached to star in the spinoff series, but no deal is currently in place. Sources also say that Lauren Lefranc is attached to write, or Lefranc is attached to write the script for the project, which is in its very early stages.
oh,
The show
that's
would,
that's kind of disappointing. I was really hoping for the Penguin from Gotham.
oh yeah, or Oswald Cobblepot. My name's not Penguin, it's Oswald Cobblepot. He's like, would you like a button? That's probably one of the creepiest.
Danny DeVito roles ever.
Yeah. Then you had Christopher Walken, and it makes it even creepier. And Michelle Pfeiffer's loony anyway.
I can't think of Christopher Walken without thinking from the scene from uh, we talked about carrying the watch in his butt.
Yeah, that's my grandfather's watch.
I'll be right back. I got to necessarily pick something from the customer.
Okay, but the show would supposedly delve into the Penguin's rise to power in the Gotham criminal underworld. The Batman director Matt Reeves and the film's producer Dylan Clark would executive produce the Penguin series under their Sixth and Idaho and Dylan Clark Productions banners, respectively. Warner Brothers Television would produce. Reps for HBO Max declined to comment. The Penguin, aka Oswald Cobblepot, is one of the most famous members of the Batman Rogues Gallery. On the live action side, the character has previously been played by actors like Burgess Meredith, Danny DeVito, and Robin Lord Taylor. What a middle name, Lord. I'm going to see what I can do to get my middle name that. I don't have one, by the way. But anyway, Farrell has previously starred in television shows like The North Water and True Detective Season 2. He is best known for his roles in films like in Bruges or Bruges, however you say that, SWAT, The Lobster, and Seven Psychopaths. So Tim will be back here in just a moment, and I'll roll solo until he gets back. But I'll ask Tim when he gets back what he thinks about the uh, the new Batman, the Batman, which has Robert Patterson playing the character. Without question, I'll watch it. I mean, there's no reason. I don't think that I've ever let me mute Tim's mic. Without question, I'll watch it. Everybody says, "Well, I'm not gonna watch it because it's Batman's Ben Affleck and this and that or whatever." But at the end of the day, you'll watch it just because it's Batman. Whether it's Robert Patterson, whether it's Ben Affleck, whether it's Michael Keaton, it doesn't matter. You're gonna watch it, and more than likely, you're gonna like it. So I'll watch it. Tim had to step out for just a moment. So let me pull this up. Let me see what else we got here. Let me see. I'll throw something out there here. I actually saved this for Elizabeth, but she's not with us today. Let me find it here. Ah. Freddie's dead at 30. Robert England says death of hearing impaired teen showed he was an equal opportunity killer. And again, I say this for Elizabeth, but she's not here today. I'll run this by her the next time I talk to her. Despite a movie poster that promised they saved the best for last, 1991's Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare was not, in fact, The Final Nightmare. There will be two more installments of the beloved Nightmare on Elm Street series in the years to come. the 1994 reboot Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and the 2003 slasher Freddy versus Jason. But the franchise star Robert Englund insists they really did approach the sixth installment, which was released 30 years ago on September 13th, 1991. Guys, 30 years ago. Wow. As the swan song for Freddy Krueger. We did set out to make a kind of over the top popular culture film with Freddy's dead, Englund says, telling Yahoo Entertainment. Some of you want to say England, I say England. You'll be okay. And we thought that was going to be a way to end the franchise. Directed by Rachel Talalay, if I'm saying that correctly, from a script by future three-time Oscar nominee and MGM chairman Michael De Luca. Freddy's Dead found his iconic fedora-wearing, razor-clawed killer returning to Springwood, Ohio, to take out the tortured town's last remaining teenager, and it certainly swings over the top, even for a nightmare film with action at 35,000 feet, a wicked witch impersonation, and fiery dream demons. There are Tim's back. Let me unmute his mic. Talking about Freddy killing a. Let me find it here. Hold on. Tim is back, and he's black. There he is. I was talking about Freddy, and I ran everybody off with Freddy. You went away, and everybody went away. Said I don't want to see him.
Freddy like Krueger.
Yeah. Freddy Krueger, yes. We're talking about the cameo where he killed a hearing impaired. It says Robert Englund says death of hearing impaired teen showed he was an equal opportunity killer. That's awful. That's awful.
You ever wonder about the guys that do the horror films like that? I mean, you make your living basically pretending like you're killing people. Right.
I I was talking the other day at work about scary people, scary movies, and what do you do with your life after you no longer do that? I mean, it's like I don't even know if he's alive. The guy that played Pinhead.
Oh yeah, I don't know what his name is.
I mean, what do you do?
Anthony Perkins couldn't get a job really. I mean, he still acted after Psycho, but nothing, nothing killer.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you do at that point.
It's
Look,
like film actors. It's kind of a weird line to parallel to draw. Horror film actors versus adult film actors. You know, some make it in the mainstream, some don't. Some, you know, get on the other side of the camera.
so we 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 some of them. I'm thinking there was one adult film actress who's been in movies and you wouldn't know that was her unless someone pointed her out.
Basically, Lors is in a lot of mainstream stuff after the fact.
Well, she retired, so would they retire like her bed sheet or something? I don't. But speaking of that, because it kind of the uncomfortable part of
Try to make me a little uncomfortable at least once every show.
yeah the uncomfortable part here. Let me find it here. So I don't think Tim has seen this episode. I haven't seen them all. I just saw this one. So there was a friend of mine who was telling me the other day about an episode of Dark Side of the Ring, which is a documentary series about wrestling and what goes on, behind the scenes and in the matches and things like that. What you don't know, what you don't see, what you don't hear about. And in one of the episodes that I watched, there's a story, and I was telling Tim when I first got here. There's a story about in 2002, the wrestlers, the WWF, WWE had rented a private jet, and they flew over to Europe and did some shows in Germany and England and I believe France, Italy, or whatever. So on the way back, and this is what I forgot to tell you about it too. So on the way back, the wrestlers were drinking and they were just going to town on the booze, cart after cart after cart, liquor and liquor and liquor, beer, 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 beer. And they had stopped in an overlay or something. Something happened. There was like weather delay or something. They thought initially it was going to be like 20, 30 minutes or whatever. Ended up being 7 hours. Yeah. 7 hours from wherever they were to get home. 7 hours. Weather delay, something. So they kept ordering all this alcohol and all this liquor and all these carts and whatnot. And Ric Flair, everybody knows who Ric Flair is. He supposedly he does this all the time. He went and had nothing on but one of his robes that he wears to the ring. He was naked underneath it. He's going up and down their plane, and they talk about how he is um, swinging himself like a helicopter.
Well, no,
That's what they described it, like a helicopter. They said he is
well endowed. Yeah.
yes, well endowed. Yes. So then Ric Flair goes up to there's a flight attendant, and she is in the back in a very small space where they keep the ice in the cups and things like that. And he goes up naked under his robe and he exposes himself to her allegedly. Everything's always alleged. He exposes himself to her allegedly, and he's I guess being Ric Flair and dancing and all this other stuff. And then he allegedly grabs the flight attendant's hand and takes her hand and puts the flight attendant's hand on himself. So the lady she was compensated. The WWE cut her a check. I don't know for how much. Apparently, like I was telling you earlier, Tim, I guess her NDA, her non-disclosure agreement, has expired because she's doing this documentary 20 years later. But she was talking about it, and Rob Van Dam was on the woman's side of it. He defended the lady and talked about how it was wrong for that to happen. And then Tommy Dreamer comes on and was talking about, oh, well, this is just the way that things were back then, and nobody should have got their feelings hurt. It was just Ric Flair being Ric Flair, and that was the culture, and blah 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 blah. So you and I were talking earlier about how times change and people have to kind of
And go with
accept that. Um, it's just crazy to me that supposedly, other than Dustin Rhodes, Gold Dust, none of the wrestlers, male or female, got up to say, "Hey, Rick, that's enough." It's amazing that this guy has that much power.
it doesn't surprise me. I think it's like that. I don't want to say maybe herd mentality that they're all in the plane, they're all drunk, they're all used to being the star. They're all used to getting basically whatever they want, however they want. And our culture and their fan base and our culture and probably their handlers facilitate that. So I mean, I'm not justifying it in any way whatsoever, but I can see absolutely, you know, it going on, and most of the flight just saying that's him being him. She'll get over it, whatever, because that's what they've been brought into,
Mhm.
you know, and it's not right in any way, shape, or form. But that mentality, I think, does exist, especially in that kind of situation.
Yeah, that's just it's bad it's bad, period. And now that this documentary is out, it's a bad look for not just the WWE, but wrestling as a whole. And Tommy Dreamer got suspended, by the way. I believe that he is. I think he wrestles at NWA, and they suspended him for his very what's the word I'm looking for? Empathetic unempathetic comments, and for him just to be like, "Oh, well, that's just the way that we did things, and people shouldn't get their feelings hurt." It's awful, awful. Because if that were his daughter, I'm sure that that would never happen.
If it was his daughter, or if it was anyone else, I mean, if it's your daughter, you'll be outraged about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mm-mm-mm.
Well,
Well,
so do you think that story coming out? Ric Flair has a huge fan base. Do you think that kind of story coming out will affect his fan base in any way?
I don't think so. I mean, it's to the point where if he were younger, if he were younger, like say if that happened to John Cena, it was John Cena instead of Ric Flair. John Cena would be way worse off.
Crush his career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would crush his career. Ric Flair is almost 80.
You got to think a similar situation. Kind of looking at it like that, you think a similar accusation was made against like Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, it
Drunk,
shut him down for what
drunk, yeah,
4 or 5 years.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he drunkenly made a pass at a, I don't know what, it was underage or a
He was like 17, hadn't turned 18 yet.
male party supposedly. And that accusation alone absolutely crushed Spacey's career.
Um, yeah, absolutely. He's just now getting back to making films, and they're like real, like small budget stuff too. Jake Stout asked what happened. No, we were referring to one of the episodes of oh, I forgot what it was.
Tales from the Dark Side.
No, not Tales from the Dark Side. Dark Side of the Ring, where they're talking about the episode on the airplane when they did the overseas tour over in Europe, and Ric Flair. Well, they were all drunk. They were all drunk. Ric Flair was naked. All he had was his robe on, and he allegedly pinned. Well, I'm not going to say allegedly because the lady got a paycheck. When you get a paycheck, I mean that's just to me on the accuser's side, that's an admission of guilt. I mean that's just me. I'm sorry, but he allegedly pinned the girl back in the corner where they go and get ice. It's a very small space, is what they say. They get ice in the cups and stuff like that for the passengers on the plane. He was naked, he exposed himself to her, and he grabbed her hand and allegedly forced her hand to touch him while he was naked. So, but it's on an episode of Dark Side of the Ring. And what's funny is what's not funny, but what's funny is that right before this episode comes out, Ric Flair decides that, well, I'm gonna call it a day at WWE and leave. So he left the WWE a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
That he had probably a fair warning that this episode was going to come out and
Mhm.
left before he got fired.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you leave the WWE right before this episode comes out. Let me see what this comment is. Hold on. Yeah, Jake Stout says, "Wow." Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Again, it's funny that he leaves WWE right before this episode comes out.
Kind of touches on, your childhood heroes kind of thing.
Sure.
Flair's childhood hero. I mean, although he played the bad guy or the arrogant guy for all his career, he probably, you know, a hero for a lot of, you know, young kids.
Mhm.
So those young kids are our age now, and you see this, and one, you realize that even your heroes are fallible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a that's a big fallible there.
It makes you wonder how many times has he done something like that?
A big thing for me, although I never saw Mickey Mantle play, it was a little before my time period. I've grown up as him as one, picturing him as one of these sports icons. I mean, he's untouchable. And I read a similar thing about Mantle. Well, not it wasn't quite that, but it was close. I think it was when it was like a anniversary of Yankee Stadium, and Yankees organizers sent letters out to all the prime Yankees players when they're still alive and asked them what their favorite memory of Yankee Stadium was. and Mano wrote back something really just off color and about meeting a woman under the bleachers, the
Oh,
fan.
wow.
Really off color, but that was his favorite memory of Yankee Stadium. And I'm thinking, here's a man his whole career was built on being an idol for at least a couple generations of kids. I mean, they idolize him completely. And instead of saying taking the class act out, even if that's not true, taking the class act saying, my man was catching this wild ball there. His is a really derogatory comment about a woman on the bleacher. And just
Mhm.
again, it shows how our heroes, when we learn too much about them, they're just people.
Yeah, it takes away. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
So,
I think often the bigger the heroes, the bigger the fall is. It's
mhm. Yeah. And it takes a long time for people not necessarily to forgive, but to overlook, maybe like forget. Just like quickly before we go, just like it took a few decades for the NFL to acknowledge like records of OJ, like on like during a broadcast. Like OJ was a big no-no, like for the longest time. And then after the decades had rolled by, it's
so
kind of yeah, it's kind of they acknowledge like him winning the Heisman or rushing for 2,000 yards a season or whatever the case may be. They kind of acknowledge that now, but they make it quick. But they acknowledge the record. So um, you got any thing going on tonight?
I'm sorry, someone messaged here. Actually, I've got our regular third floor comics reply auction coming up tomorrow night, which I still get ready to list today, and our Friday night sale will be going on live this Friday. Unfortunately, though, I had to just say this: we had the October 2nd event with Mountain State Pop Expo planned for the park outside beside the building, and Dave Humphreys with the Children's Home Society and I were putting it on. And unfortunately, we've decided to postpone it till sometime in spring due to COVID reasons. I know there's a lot of big events going on right now. Football's still going on, but we still think it's probably better off just putting this one off. We don't want to be the reason behind someone getting COVID for any reason. So we're gonna postpone it for a
Absolutely.
while.
Absolutely. Jake says that WWE should have done better, have had better policies in place after the whole Miss Elizabeth ordeal. Yeah, they got a lot going on as a company. It's a shame, as big as they are, they still for some reason have all these hurdles and mistakes that they gotta clean up. That's just bad, 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 bad. Well, we we may have we might have Elizabeth back in a couple weeks, but
Now we're ending this one kind of a down note, aren't we?
yeah, we are. I'm gonna leave here and I need a Snickers or something to pick me up before I go.
I hear you.
Jitterbug. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. So, got
Sounds good.
anything else? Okay. Bye bye.
Everybody.